Hello, I'm Li Hao. Welcome back. We have been working on file-based routing in Svelte for the past few videos. If this is the first video you are watching, then don't worry. I've attached a link to this whole playlist in the description section below. You just watch them and catch up with us. So, what have we done so far? In the past few videos, we've been focusing on writing the script to generate a routes definition from the file folder structure. And we've able to generate the basic routes definition. We're able to figure out extract out the dynamic parameters. We're also able to find the nearest layout, and not the nearest, like all the layouts within the folder structure to figure out like the nested layouts components. And in this video, what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna do the parameters matching. Basically, it's a function that you can write for your parameters, such that it does some sort of validation. Make sure that your parameters match this. When you call this function, it matches the type or the value of the parameters that you have, right? So we've seen earlier on where we have, like, say, a item ID and a shop ID. Then you want to make sure that the shop ID and item ID is numbers, is numeric. If it's not, then it does not match the item routes. It has to match other routes, or maybe not a route at all. So we're gonna we've seen how we can do that in our routes definition, but now we're gonna figure out how we can actually generate the routes definition that has those kind of matching capability. Right, so let's take a look at our code and see how we can change that. Sorry to jump in, but I got an important thing to tell you, which is that if you're following along, coding along with me, the code for all this is on the GitHub repo. Link in the description. Just follow along. If you miss any steps, each changes are in individual commits. So you can just check out that commit and take a look at what you are missing. Now follow along. So if you come here and take a look at the main file that we written earlier on without the file-based routing, if you take a look at this file, the matching whenever we have parameters, we have the name as well as a field called matching. This is the function that can take in the parameter value that we just match from the regular expression, and then to see whether this value of this parameter value can match this matching function. If it does not, then this route, the whole route, does not match, and we'll look at the next routes instead. So how do we do this? How do we write this parameter in our URL? Well, we can't really write this whole function in our URL. That would be crazy, right? So we have to figure a way to write this maybe in a file or somewhere, and then we import it and use it in our parameters. If we take some inspiration from svelte-kit, you notice that, hold on, let me find the documentation. We borrow some inspiration from svelte-kit, then you'll see that this is part of the advanced routing matching section, where you can write a file. So you can name a file, any file name, like in this case integer, and export a function called match. And then in any parameters, you can write page equals that file name, and then it will actually import this file and use the match function to match the parameters. Because this is not any other files, this file has to be in the params directory, so it's in a specific directory. And so we're gonna borrow this idea and we're gonna create that directory, right? So here we're gonna have a directory called params, and through to that we're gonna have the function called integer, because this whole thing looks exactly this whole function is exactly the same as the one that you just saw in this example. It's actually the same. So we're gonna copy this function, export it, export match d. So here in our folder structure, we can come over here and say in the shop ID, can have it has to be a integer. Same thing with the item ID, has to be integer, right? So when we parse this params name, we have to check whether it has the equal sign, and we only use the left side of the name as the parameters name and the right side as the matching function. So let's change this our script. So here in our input folder, we have the routes input. We also need to have, let me collapse this. We also need to have a folder called the params folder, path.join, c_d, and then source params. Here in our, when we get the parameters over here, see, when we get regular expressions and parameters, sorry. In here, when we check the parameters name, where we basically, after we encounter a close bracket, when we encounter a close bracket, we actually here, oops, sorry. When I encounter a close bracket, we check for the parameter names, and then we push to this parameters array with the name and the rest. So here actually, if we have the parameters name index of equal sign, if it has equal sign in here, then the match function, so we're gonna have a variable called net match function. Match function will be and then we actually just split param names to split by equal sign, and then we do this destructuring. The left side is to assign to param name, right side is to match. Right, so this in here and the match is here. So if I come over here in our code that we generate, the code that you write, params, the name, the rest, oops, let me tidy up this a bit. Then I think I can just tidy like this. Then the match itself is the match function over here like this. So let's try run our code and see what is being generated. npm run generate. Match is not defined. Okay, hold on. We need to this in this over here. Okay, and take a look at our generated routes. Let me reopen this file. So here, match is undefined. But for our shop ID and item ID, this is integer, which is the value that we just saw. And then our parameter name is still intact because we split by equal sign and we take the left part, which is shop ID and item ID. Right, so now this integer is undefined and we have to import this integer somewhere. Probably we'll have to come over the top and say import the match function as integer from the params integer folder. Something like this, right? So what we can do is we copy this, go back to our templates, and we need to know all the match functions that we use throughout so that we can come over to the top and add this line over here, right? So we can look through all the names. So that's what we need. And so when we explore folders, this is a bit too late over here. Let's see. Sorry about that. So I guess we need to slightly refactor a bit on our code. We need to call this earlier on so that we get all the match function that we've used, and then we add it over here on the top. So routes, this routes like this. Let's see, relative path. Okay, I think we can do this. So this one, we we can call this, we call this on all the routes when we generate routes, right? So we can actually call this earlier on when we are exploring a folder and extracting the routes. So after we explore the folder, we actually go through and apply all the layouts. And after applying layouts, we actually can do it within the same for loop. It's just that maybe I'm just add some comments so that it's clearer that this is just applying layouts, and here this is to split extract regex and the params, right? So here go through the same for loop again, routes of routes, and for each routes dot relative path, gonna extract the regex params, and hopefully we get the matches as well, the matches functions. I'm gonna assign all this to the routes object itself. So here is the regex, the params. But for matches, we actually what we need is actually just keep a globally. We don't have to. Let me think. Okay, let's just assign it over here. Routes matches equals to matches. Right, so here we match the routes. We assign this all three values here so that we don't have to do it later on. Then as soon as we go over here in our this part of the code, then we already have the regex, the params, as well as a match, but we don't need the matches. So let's try and run our generator code again. Here, let's take a look at our. Sorry, I need to close this and reopen because I made changes and I don't want that to affect. Here, okay, so this one we just paste in the string in our template we haven't removed, so ignore this. But I think the rest of the things still looks okay, right? Regex is correct, parameters, they're all correct. So let's get back to here. So here we get our routes. Here we're gonna find all matches. It's gonna be a set of all the matches that we're gonna use so far. So routes for each route, route.matches. It's an array of matches, right? When we extract this, it's hopefully it's just an array. Then we're gonna add all matches should add all the matches over here, right? Actually, you know what? Routes matches. Hopefully this is an array or any iterable. So we're gonna do for each match. I'm gonna all matches dot add match. Okay, so here we get all the matches, and here we will able to use it like this, where I can loop through. Okay, to loop through, I'm gonna convert it to array first, and I'll do a map and join by a new line. So every matches function we have is a new line. Here the match is just a string, which is this integer, right? So here we can change it to so this line, remove, put it here, and then this and this is the match function like this. Okay, so this one, let's take a look at our explore folders again. We go through each route and then we get regex and parameters. It should return regex, params, and matches, and then we store in the routes the matches, and later on the top we go through each of the routes, we take all the matches and then add it to our sets so that we don't get duplicated matches function. And here we're gonna use loop through, map through to generate an import statements and import them, so that this value can be used later on over here. I think we don't need to do anymore. And if you come back over here, all matches, explore folders, this should return this tree, right? And we go back here and we take a look, we only return regex and params, so we also need to return matches. And what is matches? So matches should be an array. And here, as we encounter any, go to the next segment, encounter a close brackets, which we found a match over here, then matches should push a new match. Okay, so that we collect this over here like this. So let's try to run our code again this time around. Hopefully it works now. Hold on. For each. Oh yeah, we haven't returned this, right? Have we? Matches. We did return, but this is kind of like undefined. Let's see where we define this. Matches is correct. Plural. This is plural like this. Route not matches. All routes should have this value now. What's wrong? Let's take a look at the routes. Oh, this is routes dot matches instead of routes dot matches. Let's try to run the script again. No errors. Cool. So come back to our generated code. Let's format this nicely. So here we import integer because we use it. Now this is generated from here, right? We didn't hardcode any matching function, and we integer, and this integer is being used by this shop ID, this function over here. Let's see, why is it complaining? Integer is the function itself. I believe it's correct. Param is earners on param. Okay, I'm just gonna ignore this and let's try to run our dev server. And let's see if I go to shop. Okay, no, this one is item. We only add it to our item routes. So gonna say item ASDF and 007. This still gets match. So this is slightly incorrect. Oh, it's not called. It's called matching. Yeah, that's why it's complaining. Okay, it's called matching. So I'll call here and say matching. Scale this. Let's generate the code again. Run the server. Start it up. Refresh. Okay. And then we go to item ASDF 007. Then this is item not found. You can't find this item. Because we previously have two entries that one that has the item and one that has the matching function, one does not. So we're gonna add that second one into our routes as well. So here I'm gonna copy this, paste this. No, actually it's slightly different. It does not have. So shop ID, item ID dot svelte, and this file is the haha.svelte. So let me copy that over. Routes. Copy this over to here, save it, and let's try to generate our routes again. Start our server, and now if I go to item ASDF, then this is the haha route. But if I try to go to 007, then no, this is still haha routes. What happened? Well, let's take a look at our generated code. Let's see, generated code. Let's format this a bit. So, this is copy. Why? This is weird. Oh, okay. I think this name. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, no wonder we didn't match anything. This is with a copy. That's why. Okay, so let's save it like this. Then let's try to generate our routes and see whether this time around we get it correct again. So let's try and see. Refresh. Still incorrect. 007. Oh yeah, it's correct now. 007 goes to item. ASDF goes to haha. This is the item. This is item. This is the haha routes. So we managed to get our parameters matching function to work. Now we managed to add. We look into the params folder to look for the parameters, and then we add this name over here. That looks up to that uses that match function. And if you look at the code that we have, true enough that this params folder that we just initialized, we have not used it at all. But we can use it. We can use it to validate whether we are looking at the parameters that is valid, the parameters name that is valid, so that we don't generate an import that imports to a file that is undefined. So to do that, we can come over here. Once we get the match function, we can check, say for example, fs.existing. So check in the file system whether it exists, whether this file exists or not. And the file that we need to look for is the that is the parents folder with the match, and then plus maybe a TypeScript file or JavaScript file, right? It depends on your user, right? In this case, it's a TypeScript file, but you can check whether either JavaScript or TypeScript file has to be exist. In this case, we're just being lazy. We just check whether the TypeScript file existed. If it does not exist, then throw a new error. Again, this is invalid path, unknown matching function, which is this function. Okay, so say for example, if I come over here and in our this shop ID, I just call it equals to int, which is not in the params folder at all. Then if I try to run build and generate the code, then you get an error that says that invalid path, unknown matching function int. Do you see that over here? Right, so we do some validation based on the folder, but we generated code, we just assume it's always from the params. Then since we already done some validation early on, then we don't have to worry about it. So if I change this back to integer, or I create a file called integer like this, then if I try to run this again, then don't get any errors. If I go to look at our generated code, let's close this and restart, open it. Let me format it nicely. Then you see that on the top we have two functions, int and integer, and we are using the int over here in shop ID and integer for our item ID. Right, so seems like we are almost, I think this is like almost the same, almost I guess I say almost the same as the svelte-kit routing that you see when you're using svelte-kit. As in not the code itself, but the behavior itself. Now we are able to handle all sorts of parameters matching, dynamic parameters, file-based routing. We have layouts, we have a lot of features, a ton of things that we have done over here. But there's one edge case that we probably didn't handle as nicely as the svelte-kit. So if I try to come over here and create another file, let's see if I can replicate that. I try to create a file called b.svelte. And if I try to run this generate again and take a look at our generated code, right? See, take a look. Yep, and I format this. Oops, hold on. Where's our generated? Okay, I think I don't have to format it. Just start our server. Try to visit this A1, 2, 3. We get the. Hold on, our rest parameters is not working. Hold on. What's this? No, it should not have this, right? Let's see if I remove this. Yep, I just realized we found a bug with our rest parameters. In this case, we should not have that slash thing when we do this matching. So let's quick. I think I'll leave it as an exercise for you, or should I? Okay, let me quickly fix this. This should be part of the code when we do the regular expression strings generation here. We join everything here like this, right? And we have this in a segment and just join everything. Which could be incorrect in this case when we have a rest parameters. The regular expressions that we have, we don't need this slash thing in front of us. We just add it in. So I feel what we can do is we can change this to a string and then we just push this character if we need it, right? So this is a string right now, so you don't get to join anything. And here we plus equals to the segment. Okay, and here if we have, say, where's the segment? Here, let's collapse all this. Hold on. For each segment, okay. Yep. For this segment, if let's see, if I have a square brackets, then you handle it somehow. But else if say if this is the second I greater than 0, so we don't do it at the first one, but on the second one we always append this slash equals to in front of us, right? Only on the second and above, because the first one you don't need a initial slash thing. Right? Do you know? So which means this can also, we can also do with this. Yeah. This is always here. And then if we don't have a length, no, I think it's okay. I think we can remove, yeah, we can remove this and then we don't have to check. Okay, so if we don't have any segments, then this is something that we add. But over here, we have to check on something where if we have if it starts with the rest, if it has a rest parameters, right? So if it's okay, so if rest is true, then we don't add it. If rest is false, then we add it. Right, I think that's simple enough. So if it's rest is true, then it's like this. Else we also add this plus the regex string. So this is a segment. And then this, we just append this. Okay, let's take a look at the generate code again. Let's kill this. Let's try to generate our routes definition again. No. Okay, assignment to okay, here it should be a let. Okay, we managed to generate our routes. Let's take a look at our generated code. Hopefully this time around it's working. Oops, sorry. Format. This looks correct. This looks correct as well. A, B. This is correct. Okay. No problemo. Now let's try run dev. Let's visit this page. It's working. A123, A1, or even okay. I think that is more of a client-side issue. Then we can come over here and then we say A. We still have the rest. It should be an empty array, man. I think somehow when we change these regular expressions to look like this without the slash, backslash like this, it might have changed the logic slightly. Let's take a look over here with a regexer. Sorry to drag this a bit, but let's take a look at the regexer. So this thing, let's see, this one, and if we have the A, list out all the details, then we mesh an empty group over here. Previously we have something that looks like this. I think we still have an empty group. Not sure what went wrong. Then I think there's nothing wrong with the regular expressions. We have it's more of the client-side library that we did not handle an empty array. Yeah, I'm not sure what I changed, but let's quickly just mitigate that. I believe you know how to do it, so I'm just gonna skip it. But one thing I want to show you, so I'm gonna commit that changes in the repo so that you can try it out and see. But one I want to show you is that if you try to visit AB like this, it matches this route. It's not matching our AB file component, right? Our AB file component should be more specific, right? But because if you look at the generated routes definition, this comes first before our AB. That's why AB is kind of like inferior in some sense, because AB match second. So if you can match anything in front, then you get matched, then you render that routes, then this will never get rendered when you have AB. So in svelte-kit docs, that is something called an ordering of the routes. That's what we're gonna work on to fix this issue, so that when we visit AB, it's the routes AB, and if we visit A or something else, then it's the rest routes that are serving the content. So we shall work on that in the next video. Do remember to subscribe my channel so that you get notified when the next one is out. So see ya, bye bye.